hellfire, where there's a fire of Jahannam, right? There's a valley of Jahannam where there's a fire there, and you'll be punished. This is the Bible. And you'll be separated from God. How is that metaphorical?
Why couldn't it be metaphorical?
God is metaphorical. Maybe it doesn't exist.
No, not. But that's
do you see the problem?
No,
people don't want to be held.
And I understand what you're saying.
I'm saying it is quite clear. Those people who want to reject clear messages from this scripture is because of their biased belief already.
But the other extremity is okay. Then you go to something like Revelation, and then you're saying within obviously what I mean angels. You even spoke about
Revelation is a dream, my friend.
So exactly. So
how do you take that scripture? In fact,
you can't say literally.
In fact, is that a scripture? Is that from God?
I would say it's from God, yes.
Okay, what makes it from God?
But it's meta.
Okay, so now this is very important. When we leave our opinions and use our rational mind, we want to judge the scripture whether from God or not. What makes the scripture that you believe is from God indeed? What makes it? What gives you the certainty that it's from God?
First of all, this is the whole point. That I'm not saying that my specific scripture is certainty or this from God. My actual position was that let's use our rational minds to deduce the stuff we get from the scripture, and then I relate it to
firstly, we establish whether it's from God or not. You establish from God or not. For example, if the scripture says God put up a rainbow in the sky for a reason, and that reason is when he's about to destroy mankind again, you look at the clouds and you will see the rainbow and you will say, now I remember. It will remind him. Would you believe that's from God? That's there in Genesis.
I mean, look. I mean, this.
That is why using our rational mind to prove and disprove which is from God or not, to verify and accept, or verify and reject. So when you look at the New Testament, for example,
I guess I would.
Same thing. Use it.
But the way I'm also a bit different because you're looking at things in terms of you want to look at the scripture and because you think it's infallible and all that kind of stuff.
No, you want to believe whether it's infallible or not.
Yeah. But my position is there's a lot of, and not just with Christianity, I think with Islam, with Judaism, there's a lot of things which I would call, it's kind of called a diaspora. Basically things.
What does it mean?
It basically just means things that aren't the crux of whether either God is real or not, or shouldn't be the crux of your faith. So there's a lot of things that aren't actually if someone believes this and someone doesn't believe this, that it's not really relevant.
Your basis of belief has to be from God's revelation rather than your own opinion. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying there's specific things in scriptures where if you had a disagreement with another Muslim about it, you'd still all be Muslims. So I'm saying there's a lot of stuff
like God exists or not.
No, obviously not that.
Exactly. So what point we're talking about? So we're talking about
we're talking about heaven and hell, and
heaven and hell is something that is so crucial.
I'm saying that I don't think my conception, if I said this, that suddenly would not make me a Christian. In the same way, I think if you had this conception of saying, I actually don't think it's an eternal hellfire, I think it would be something else.
Did God mention to you? Did God mention in His scripture, in your belief, the scripture that you believe in, that heaven or hell eternal or not? Did He mention that?
So let's say it's eternal. So let's. He says eternal. So let's go on to obviously what you were saying, because you even said, which not all Muslims agree with this.
Hyde, what did I say?
About hell, the idea of hell, you having a punishment. Actually, this is exactly what you said.
What did I say that many Muslims will not accept?
Let me rephrase that. Let me backtrack. Essentially, what I'm saying is there's a disagreement in terms of time when it comes to hell. There's a disagreement in terms of time when it comes to that punishment, and you've actually kind of brought that back to me by what you were saying in regards to people who had faith but had done a certain level of sin and then would be punished because of that. Now, what I'm saying is obviously there's differences of opinion on that. Some people are saying eternal, not eternal on that scale. Do you follow me on that?
Which people? The Muslims?
Yeah, Muslims. Christians as well.
No. The Quran clearly says, وَمَا هُمْ بِخَارِجِينَ مِنْهَا. They will never come out of it. That's it. Khalas. There are people who will never come out of hell, and they will remain there forever. So.
And you're saying there's some people who will though as well.
Sorry?
There's some people who will leave.
No. When people believe that hell is not eternal, when the Quran says so very clearly.
No, I'm asking you. Do you think that there's some people who be in hell but not eternally? And that's what it sounded like you were saying.
No,
earlier.
I'm saying the people who remain in hellfire, there are special categories of people. So if you are a believer in the oneness of God and you think God is alone worthy of worship, La ilaha illallah, even if you were punished in hellfire for however long God is going to
So
punish
it's not
you.
eternal in that case.
No, hell remains eternal, but your punishment is not going to be eternal.
Okay, thank
Yes.
you. Fine.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So at least then, so things like that.
Because
so this,
who
so things
deserves
like
eternal
this,
punishment in hellfire
so-
and special categories
so
of
this is
sin?
what I'm saying. So those kind of conditionals, those kind of conditions.
I think you need light. Do you want to come here? Because
We
otherwise,
can
you know,
come
if
here.
you
That's all right. Thank you.
Those kind of conditions are what I like. Those kind of conditions is to me then what would allow for this concept of justice still being a bit more palatable in terms of God's justice and the reality of heaven and hell, because in that sense, at least for those people, it wouldn't be eternal. However, you still have that difficulty for the people who it is eternal. And
What's the difficulty? What's the difficulty?
The first question I asked you actually at the very beginning was, a big problem I have is how you kind of match in terms of God's justice with this idea of eternal punishment with finite sin and finite
You
life.
should have
How does that?
because you use jargons like diaphora, hermeneutics. I have to assume you're well read. This is a question that has been asked.
Of course.
In philosophy, this is a question that is asked in religious discussions. What is the punishment against an infinite God? Finite punishment or infinite punishment? If you commit a crime against an infinite God, should your punishment be finite or infinite?
I don't think it should be. I think it should be finite, because the people who are committing the sin are finite beings.
If you are committing a crime, but if you're committing a crime against an infinite God,
but
not a finite God.
First of all, the people who are doing that are finite entities, and they have the kind of specific abilities that they have. So you're saying it's a sin against God, but that's a bit of a.
That is the punishment. The only crime that leads people to eternal punishment is the sin against God.
Eternal. We're saying God's eternal. God's bigger than anything you can imagine, infinite. So if you sin against God, then that's an infinite sin. But that to me is wrong, because you're looking at you're looking at it from the perspective of who's being sinned against rather than the agent doing the sin. The agent is what would dictate. So you wouldn't judge a baby doing a crime in the same way that you judge a man of 40 years old. So it's more about the agent rather than.
Let me help you there.
So if a baby, I don't know, a baby steals something, and a 40-year-old man steals something. What they're sinning against, say it's Tesco's, it's still the same entity, so to speak, that they're sinning against. But the agents are two very different in terms of their abilities, in terms of their faculties. So it doesn't matter, even though it's Tesco's doesn't change, those are two very different entities in terms of their ability, in terms
but
of.
your analogy doesn't work here, I'll tell you why. A baby doesn't have the faculties to understand that this is
we're
a
like
sin.
babies compared to God.
Please.
Sorry.
We're not like babies compared to God.
So go ahead.
You can't even compare God with the creation, full stop.
Agreed.
But the people who are going to be punished and so on are the people who have already reached the age of reason and discernment between right and wrong. So you already have an agent who is able to decipher between right and wrong, and the accountability is for that agent. So if someone is insane, there is no accountability because they don't know between right and wrong. They cannot be punished. Hold on to your thoughts. If someone doesn't understand between right and wrong, you can't just say your punishment is like this. So firstly, you have to have a volition, your own choice. You have to commit this crime knowing it's a crime. If you've done something and actually it was some sin, but that's an intentional mistake. There's a difference between intentional sin and unintentional mistake. We have to make that distinction. God is just. He is not unjust to any of his creation. So he says, for example, okay, if God says to you and me, because you are having a rational discussion with me, intellectual discussion, you understand right and wrong. If God says, look, if you reject me and worship someone else, I am going to punish you in eternal hellfire. And he makes that clear in black and white. And you still do that. Why do you say, oh God?
Because it's not black and white. But first of all,
no, wait. If he makes it black and white, look, God will punish you with eternal hellfire if you associate a partner with him. He makes it clear. He gives it in Revelation. He tells to the prophet and messengers, and he says clearly, black and white, without any ambiguity. If you set up a partner with God, whether it's a son of God or a daughter of God or a mother, brother, whatever, he will put you in hellfire for eternity and there's no coming out. Those people who go to hellfire, are you going to say, they're going to say, oh, why are you torturing me for eternity? God will say, I've already told you, this is the punishment that is awaits. This was my justice. I told you the consequence. I didn't say, oh, there's going to be punishment. And you didn't know because it was vague. If God told you the punishment is specific, it is eternal hellfire, and you still did it, you can't complain when you're going to eternal hellfire. That's the justice of God. That's the justice of God.
Just one quick thing. I hear this argument a lot. If God is all merciful and there is the existence of eternal hellfire, even for those who reject God, I've heard that. Aren't they two contradicting?
No, God is just. At the same time,
justice is different.
His justice is this. He says, "This is my law. If you associate a partner with me, you will be there in hellfire for eternity, and there's no coming out."
So is He all merciful with the exception of
No. He can exercise His mercy, but His justice, He says very clearly, there will be no injustice done to anyone, and this is the law. If you commit this associate partners with Him, the shirk, you will remain in hellfire in this punishment forever. So those people who did this crime and they go in hellfire, they cannot complain saying, oh, why did you put me in hellfire forever?
I think they can,
but God is very clear.
Mansur, can you associate kind of with Allah, like with your nafs, or like following your nafs, and like with sin? Like, you know what I mean? So like, say you were...
Now, if you worship yourself,
Yeah.
besides God, that will be a partner against God, along with God.
So, I mean, what I want to take it back to, I didn't want to interrupt you, I want to just very brief. You were also talking about right and wrong, and it just sparked my mind about obviously the conversation we were having, and this is where, again, I feel like this is the issue where we have to accept, unfortunately, that rationality is a big key for us. Because even when you're saying about kind of right and wrong, everyone's conception of that is difficult. That's why you have so many different conceptions of, you know, what people deem as right and wrong, things that are certain.
That's why the objective morality comes from God.
Exactly. But then when we're saying what the objective version is of that, there's disagreements even within the same movement. So what?
No, you're actually playing this too much. When God says, do not kill, murder is wrong, there is no disagreement on that.
But then when you put it into the reality of day-to-day life with the amount of different circumstances people have, obviously killing in certain situations rather than others, things like that.
No, killing is killing. It could be unintentional mistake or intentional cold-blooded murder.
Yeah, and so in certain circumstances, even though it says do not kill, there would be times where morally we could say that it would still be moral to kill someone, even though
when God says do not kill, He says do not kill an innocent soul. When the hands of the law kills someone by hanging or by crucifixion or by death penalty, this is the justice that's been done because of their crimes. That's not unlawful killing. That is the just killing. When a capital punishment is implemented by the legal system, it's still killing, but that killing is justifiable. That is killing that is God allows and justifies for it to happen, to establish peace and tranquility and justice on earth, even though that is killing. So the killing that God forbid is unjustful killing of the innocent people.
So what I'm basically trying to say to you is that with each individual, when you're trying to talk about sin and sin against God and sin against this, first of all, and I know you're trying to more put it down to the crux, which is belief in, not belief of kind of disbelief of God, because that's the crux of it. But I'm even saying just sin generally. First of all, the average person doesn't commit a sin and think, oh, that's a sin against God. So that they commit a sin, but it's not that they're thinking, oh, this is a sin that's against an infinite being. It's just a sin. It's just something wrong that they're doing. But second of all, that conception of what their right and wrong is different for each person, right? Is that right?
You're highlighting the problem where people in their ignorance what they do. Islam is not like that. Islam. No.
That's the
wait.
So how can you judge that justly?
I'll just tell you something. Islam emphasizes on education from day one. Education, learning is mandatory. It's mandatory. It's obligatory on every Muslim man and woman. So, if people are ignorant, it doesn't make them an excuse. Oh, I was ignorant and I raped someone. that is not going to be an acceptable excuse. So you
course,
can't
that is
bring
what I'm
this
saying.
excuse and say, oh,
course,
how can
but what I'm
God
saying-
punish someone eternally? Because no,
I like-
God, He clearly states
But this
in
is
the
why you
Quran, in the Quran, associating partner with God, they will go into hellfire and there will be no helpers, there will be no coming out. That is something that is ingrained, indoctrinated, that is taught, that is blasted everywhere in the Muslim mind. So then after that you're saying, oh, someone didn't know. This kind of excuse doesn't work in reality. The reality is,
that's the opposite. Reality, it works.
which reality?
It works in what,
The
it works in
ignorant
what
reality
you're
of
saying.
people who
It
don't
works in what
learn
you're-
their
it works-
religion.
It works within what you're saying in the confines of dogma, but it doesn't work in terms of the reality of life.
What reality of life? The Western life?
It's not
The Eastern
Western,
life?
It's everything. It's
Everywhere.
everything. That's more to the point.
Look,
There's so much variety.
If you're a
There's so much
Muslim,
variety.
if you're a Muslim,
You're just-
shouldn't you know
you're
what
just
makes to be a
You're
Muslim?
just backing my point. There's so much variety. There's variety in terms of what I was trying to talk about, which is right and wrong. How people base. You have. I don't want to bore you with more jargon, but obviously consequentialism. Kantian ethics, all types of different stuff that people would deem as what they would say.
I can see why you're
right-
confused. No
right-
worries.
right-
Don't worry about that.
No.
Because of all this philosophical, ethical morals that you've read, they have really confused you.
No, stop this. This was before, even before I read a book. This is the reality. This is reality. People have differences of opinion. You speak to one person, they think this certain thing would be moral, this certain thing would be immoral. And yes, we can talk about laws, the commandments, but then once you put those into specific situations, it's very difficult. So that's just a side note. But what I'm trying to say to you is that when we have kind of all these kind of different